Hey Scott, hope you're doing well. I'm going to try to answer the couple questions you sent and review these two clips. This might be shorter than you expect, but this is just to get started on the current discussion based on these videos, and then we'll obviously continue to discuss things as probably the week goes by. So I've got these questions here. I'll get to those in a second. I just want to look at this with you and see what's going on. So looks great there. Um, got no problem with that. You've actually slightly changed, which is not a problem. I'm just noting when I look back at the last clip you sent. Seems like last time your left arm was a little higher, and so that point that I'm making is going to lead into your question about shallowing. But again, that's a great position. We can see as you start down, your left hip starting to go back into its original position, which is the right way to move your hips. The club at P, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5 is in between the right elbow and the right shoulder, and the shaft points a little bit outside the ball, which would be congruent with anyone not trying to swing steeply into the ball. So that's fine there. When we get to 6, that's much more improved than a couple weeks ago when we started discussing that. So that looks good. And into the ball. So from this clip, I wouldn't have a lot to really nitpick on. So let's go to this one real quick. Setup looks great. By the way, if you do feel, because we're all getting older, that you have any resistance to turning your hips in the downswing, don't be afraid to flare that left foot out about 20 degrees or so. Other than that, looks good. This is a strong position for the spine to be in to swing down from the inside, so just make sure your head doesn't move too far over, but it is inside the right leg, so just a general point there to show you. Definitely don't want the back leaning that way, right? So that would create a very difficult situation to not come over the top in the downswing. Face is strong position at the top, which is good. And there's our 6. Hands are covering the right leg. Shaft is about parallel to the floor. That's good. As we go from 6 to 7, the right wrist angle should release naturally in a real swing. As the body continues to rotate, I know you're just doing this kind of very slow motion, but I don't see anything bad there. So now let's pull up a clip, if I can find it. And well, let's see. I thought I just pulled that up. Let me try that again. Okay. First, I want to reread your question. So I'm not comfortable with how I'm trying to shallow the club. Any suggestions based on what you see? Okay, well, what I see now is that you don't need to shallow the club. You're not quite at shaft parallel at the top, which is fine, especially with an iron. And if you just naturally rotate, you're going to see the shaft shallowed by itself. So there's no real need to do anything very strange if you just rotate like you're doing now. But let me show you this real quick. So if I go to the top and my length of swing is there, if I just rotate towards the target, pretty much looks like your golf swing, right? I don't have to shallow the club. Now if I get up here and have the shaft very laid off and start coming down, and the shaft would be too shallow coming in the ball, and I would have to steepen it somewhere between the top and the way down, right? If I was across the line, which some people do, and I'm exaggerating here, then I would have to change the angle of the shaft as I rotated, which is that, and then I would continue to rotate. Okay, so that's what I call swing plane. Is, well, let me go back to this original picture for a second. I'm just hovering the club because my back is horrible. If that's my swing plane, everybody in the world, as you know, eventually goes above that plane. If the plane angle fairly matches the plane of the address plane, then the only thing we have to do to quote unquote shallow the club is just make the hands go back down towards the plane as we rotate, which would be pretty much a look of the left arm dropping, which I'll show you in a later clip. But if we get the shaft out of position, like I mentioned earlier, very laid off or very across the line, then we have to change the angle of the shaft as well as get the whole shaft to lower. So shallowing depends on where the shaft is at the top, how high the hands are in relation to that swing plane. So let me go show you the end clip, which is, all right, there's our cross the line. So if I go to the top and get my left arm very high, if I were to just rotate around, then my hands would go too far out towards the target line, and I'd either have to have a tremendous amount of side bend to fix my hand path, or I would just swing over the top. So what that player would have to do is get the left arm to fall as the body rotated, right? So hopefully that gives you a little idea. We can discuss that more if this doesn't make sense, of shallowing. Long story short, this current swing that I saw, you don't need to work on shallowing, okay? As far as hips, I'll show you this little device. It's called a Rotex. What you do is you put these 4 prongs up against a flat surface, and they got little rubber pads on the inside of the legs, if you want to call them that. So it gives a little traction against the surface that you place it against. And then I can't demonstrate it because I don't have a free wall except my door, and you wouldn't be able to see because I couldn't get the camera to make you see how to set it up. But anyway, you'd place that against your wall about chest high. You'd turn to the right, and the Rotex handle would turn to the right and make you twist to your right, vice versa if you turn the handle to the left. That's a way to do some resistance. So what I'm going to suggest, which I couldn't again demonstrate, if you got against a door jamb, of course no door in the world is that wide, but pretend it is, grab both sides of the door jamb, and if you wanted to work on backswing rotation, you'd hold on to the door jamb and twist to the right, vice versa, or sorry, you twist to the left for downswing rotation resistance and to the right for backswing. If you wanted to train both of them, you get that resistance feel, maybe do like an isometric, hold it for 4 or 5 seconds, then go hit a shot and see if that made any change. If you just want to work on your downswing, Grab the door jamb, twist your hips towards the target, hold for about 5 seconds. You know, don't get a red face and hold it tight as you can, but just feel some resistance. Then jump over there real quick and hit a golf ball and see if that isometric feel gets you to, if you're trying to clear your hips faster, or if that's what you're after with that question. If not, then we'll address it in the next couple of days, okay? So resistance is good for building a feel, but if you're not sure how to turn, then let's address that later, okay?